You beautiful bastards. I hope you're all keeping well. Welcome to this incredibly sunny and beautiful northwest of Ireland. In the not even barely a week or just over a week into May, and it's already like the height of summer temperature wise. And the weather since the big storms after Christmas has just been fantastic. There's been more sunny days and the weather's stabilized again. It reminds me of the climate when I was a kid. The weather's actually stabilized, so it's like being in Central Europe. I definitely have memories of the weather being more stable when I was a kid, and here we are again. So it's good to see, and I think we could be heading for a very warm summer in Ireland anyway. I haven't had one in a few years, but I hope you're all keeping well and keeping safe. Some of you still are under the impression I blocked you on Facebook. No, my Facebook account was taken down. Yeah, so like no one's been blocked. What happened? I'm on Twitter now, X. But what happened was they they never tell you why they did, but someone ratted me out over something. But they never tell you what you did, and so I just lost everything. I lost my Instagram, the lot, and so that was it. So I've been kind of like on X, and to be honest with you, I haven't been doing an awful lot in terms of like this kind of thing. I've been mostly outdoors chopping down trees and getting firewood ready and that kind of thing, and using the chainsaw, which I really enjoy, and using the axe to split the wood, and playing with model trains, and not really doing much else, and doing a bit of reading and that kind of thing. So I'm not doing any. I'm not going to do any talks this. I think. Well, I might be doing one. I think, but it's only up the road in Roscommon. I'm not going to England or anywhere this year outside Ireland this year. I just don't feel like it. I mean, I've been invited to a few things. I just don't have the goo on me to do it this year. I don't know. I think it was because things were so bad at Christmas and afterwards. It kind of like knocked the winds out of my sail. I'm not like really down about it or anything. I just want to. It's almost like I just want a year of just like fixing model trains and chopping down trees and doing a bit of painting and drawing and doing a lot of reading, that kind of thing, and doing a bit of naturey stuff. I just like to do that while the weather's good and see how that goes. But yeah, so that's how I've been, and I can't complain. I've been still paying attention to the world, but I've made it to a definite thing. I'm not going to do any kind of like events or interviews or talks anymore on anything to do with like the. Now I'll still comment about it on X or share a post or something to do with mass immigration or any of that stuff. I've done all I can do on that, and I can't really do any more. And other people. See, I'm not even kind of an activisty kind of person or a kind of a mouthy person on this stuff. This only happened because of the Rona Chronicles, So that's my main thing. Has always been like, what are they going to pull next on us? So the Rona Chronicles thing was definitely, something like that led to that. But now, other than that kind of thing, I'm just not. I'm not going to like do events or talks that have anything to do with that. Not that I have anything against them. Best of luck to all the people who are still in there, and they still have my support. It's just that I don't have them. I just don't have the goo on me for it anymore, and I can't offer anything anymore. And also, the only people that ever attack me are never the lefties. They're always people from our side. Always the same. They'll find a post I made 10 years ago saying, oh, the Polish immigrants are the greatest thing that ever happened to Ireland, and suddenly they're saying I'm in favour of. They're posting, sharing that, and saying things like Sheridan's in favour of open borders. Like this. I can't deal with these people anymore. And some of them, a tiny percentage of them, are genuine racists who want this pure ethno state, and that's not even. That's such a ridiculous idea at this point. It's not going to happen. You can fantasize about that all you like. You can drive yourself into mental frustration about that all you like, but that's never going to happen. And the best you can do is control the immigration now and deport all the ones who came in illegally since 2018 or whatever it was, or without papers. Deport everyone that came in without papers. But and again, that's all moving in the right direction now since MAGA and Trump's victory in America. it's you know it's obvious. Another thing, it's we're rolling back towards the world of common sense, and yeah, and I was just seeing another thing about this, watching like gangster films. I like mafia films and I like mafia documentaries. I watched one last night about James Conway, James Burke, for the one to go play by Robert De Niro in Goodfellas, and I was watching Michael Francisi this morning said that James Comey, the former, that was his name, the former FBI director or sitting FBI director, had called for the assassination of Trump while he was in the job. I mean, so that's they're really worried about something, and I'm still very much in the conspiratorial world of things. I do wonder Trump's sort of like tour of the Middle East last week was very, very interesting. It was very interesting. He was making speeches about the days of Americans telling other countries how to live their lives and, bombing them if they don't do what America tells is over, this kind of thing. And I found that, like trying to, regime change, the CIA thing, that the central neocon thing. But there's also something else, the way there's kind of an interesting interaction with the Saudis, and half of me wonders, we know the Saudis did 9/11. Half of me wonders if he made a deal with the Saudi royals saying, I won't destroy your country if you give me the names of the ones you're working with to do 9/11, or who are the members of the U.S. establishment who are working with you to do 9/11. And wow, that would be something else if that came out. That was what he was doing. But his speeches were very reconciliatory and very kind of almost spiritual in nature. And you can see there's a whole new dynamic at the Middle East. Hopefully this will now change things there. There's some. He's a remarkable individual. I've never known anyone like him in the public stage, and you know, it's but I was watching a Steve Bannon speech during the week, and Bannon made a good point. He says we're not out of it. In fact, we're entering the most dangerous period, and I think he's right. He showed like just how unstable the other side are when they were all attacking the Tesla dealerships. He said if they could get lynch mobs and guillotines, they'd be out on the street killing people. That's definitely true. The left are always, no matter where they are in the world, they're always highly unstable and murderous. And there's basically people who are attracted to left wing politics are not attracted because they want to do things to help working class people. In fact, it's quite the opposite. They want to destroy working class people, but they are drawn to left wing politics to make up for some kind of psychiatric or personality disorder when inside them. That they feel that they can heal the world, they'll heal themselves. And they don't get no frustration, they don't get no satisfaction, and they end up becoming more and more psychotic the deeper they go into left wing politics. And so that's like they'll become completely psychotic at this point. So we have to be very careful. It's almost like this is why I wonder why the Irish government is doubling down on woke and globalization. The latest ones, they want to take woke academics from America and give them refuge in Ireland. Like they're escaping Trump's America. Some like these fellas, they want to like literally bring the purple-haired professors and other lunatics who key Tesla cars over to Ireland to give them safety from Trump. I mean, this country, the Irish establishment. You could probably make a very good argument that the Irish establishment are completely insane. Completely insane. And they're ready. They cannot believe that Trump won the last election. And they think if they do keep doubling down on woke and globalization, that somehow they'll wake up in the morning and Kamala Harris is really the real president. It's truly bizarre. But that's what they're like. They've lost it completely. Now, you've heard me talk about now with all the sunshine and sunny weather. I said, okay, here we go. Here's the chance to test if the chemtrails thing is real or not. Because if they're really trying to shut us down, remember when I turn around and people say I go back and forth on the chemtrails thing, I really don't know. And then the truther will say to me, oh, but it's well known about geoengineering. Well, I go, But it wasn't geoengineering. 10 years ago, when they were talking about the chemtrails, it meant bombers, chem bombers in the sky dropping Morgellons disease on people. So don't be switching those musical chairs. That's what you meant in the old days, and weather modification's been around at least since the 1920s, when the first aircraft were flying up there seeding clouds. But we all know there's nothing new about any of that. You could even go back further. They were firing chemicals and stuff into the air using cannons. But so so with tested this chemtrail thing, if this fucking spraying thing is real. So I've been watching the planes, and they've been all basically regular contrails. I'm looking at one now and one over there. I haven't seen any, not the thing, thing that's real thick and spreads out and covers the sky in a silvery thing. I don't see any of that, except I saw it yesterday. No, 2 days ago, and and then one aircraft flew out over the beach into the Atlantic and made a U-E and came back, making that big thick trail. And I said, well, fuck me, maybe the truthers are right about this. Maybe they are spraying us on purpose. And but two things happened. The next day there was no spraying. Well, no what you call chemtrails, just contrails. And the stuff they'd sprayed on the day before had no effect. We still had blazing sunshine all day long. So either their USAID money has run out, and they either have stopped spraying or don't have this money to spray. They never were spraying, and it's something caused by changes in the atmosphere and the sun. You should never think about that, or different types of jet engines and stuff like that, and that kind of thing. Because remember, the sun has changed. It's not yellow on you. Well, it's going yellow again, but it was blue for all the time. Cold blue, white, and so I'm as confused about that as ever. I'm as confused about that as ever. If it's what's really going on there, and like I said, they're back to contrails. So I don't know. I don't know what to. I'm as confused as ever on that. I thought for a moment there, like, oh, so it is real. They're flying out into but then again, planes could be flying out into the Atlantic as testing planes. They do an awful lot of air. See, remember, Ireland is like one of the world's major civil aviation companies. And we don't only have big airlines, but we also have aircraft leasing and maintenance and repair companies here. So a lot of flights in Ireland are aircraft being tested and stuff, and that kind of thing. So it's a tricky one to actually fully confirm. I mean, I'm not saying I don't believe it. I'm just saying I can't get any real hardcore information. And don't be showing me patents from the patent office. Anyone can patent anything. Doesn't mean that went into production or anything. See, this is I just don't know. I just don't know. So yeah, so that was very interesting. That was an interesting experiment, and that kind of thing was. And yeah, so another thing, the world's population is just collapsing. It's literally in free fall at this point. Now, I'm not particularly bothered by it, because I just don't know what can you do about it, really. It's also kind of mysterious. They blame all kinds of things on it, but maybe it could be a natural thing too. You don't know that the earth regulates itself by making people less fertile. I don't know. But anyway, you have a point now where, a country has to produce X amount of children in order to be at replacement level and above for their population. And it depends on the size of the country and the number of people already living there. Well, all across the world, and not just in the West, it's in South America, it's in Africa, it's less in Africa and Asia, but it's still happening, that there's a collapse in the population, the new people. And if this continues at this rate, and as every indication it will, that by 2030 or 2033, literally, humans can vanish very quickly, and there's hundreds of because of China's one-child policy and so on. Even though I know they stopped that, but because of that legacy of that, in China, there's literally hundreds of millions of people gone. Now, lots of people probably died from the clot shot and stuff like that, but they're gone. Or many would have been from old age, but they're gone. And there's also a lot of emigration from China to Africa. That's one of the reasons their population is growing. It's as much to do with Chinese emigration to Africa as it has to Africans still being relatively fertile. But even they're heading into collapse as well. And so the people are all vanishing basically. So maybe this is how, like all through history, like we know that like was thousands of years ago, Europe became, I think it was 9,000 years ago, everyone in Europe vanished. They were gone. And is this how it happens? Is this Atlantis? Is this how it happens? When the population reaches a certain critical mass, that the Mother Nature, Gaia, the gods switch off fertility. And I mean, we know there's all the chemicals and all that shit in the food. But I mean, I was looking at a thing about 1950s and 60s food in Western societies, and it was garbage. Like, Americans were eating absolute garbage in the 1960s and 50s. Every fucking chemical under the sun. All these, because it was seen as a thing of the future. So all this, they were eating huge amounts of processed food back then. And yet they were having babies like the clappers. So that's another one. What's the story there, And it's very, this is why I go back and forth on so many things. Like, what's really causing this drop in population? People, vaccines and all. We don't. I mean, you ever watch that documentary, Heavy Metal Parking Lot? They would be kids about the same age as me. So they were kids in America waiting to see Judas Priest, and it's wonderful actually. But that would have been like my generation, and I had I grew up in Ireland like that, and then I went to America and experienced that there. I was a bit older, my 20s, early 20s. And you look at those kids in those videos, every last one of them would have been vaccinated up the tits. They would all be drinking fluoride. And yet they have a vital spark and way about them that teenagers today teenagers haven't really had since the grunge era. The grunge era was like the beginning of that stupid show on MTV, Daria, and all those kind of like introspective bullshit. When that music like Lisa Loeb and all that crap came out, it was like, retard fucking world began. That's when it all began. Idiocy world began. And it's ever since then it's been going downhill. But those kids in the 1980s in that documentary, they are full of life, and they've got the full of spark, and they've looked real healthy and everything. And they were eating junk food and chemicals and all vaccinated and all fluoridated. So how do you explain that? How do you explain that one? There's so many variables. There's so many variables that you can think about. But anyway, regardless of what it is, the population is collapsing all over the world. And by 2033, we'll be in free fall, meaning that, like, literally, if everyone starts shagging everybody else and making babies, that we still wouldn't be able to restore the Earth's population. This is one of the excuses they give for mass migration, is they say that because of declining birth rates in countries like Ireland, you need a younger population to take care of the older population. But they're bringing in people that have no skills and can't work and can't even speak, read and write in their own language, let alone Irish or English. And this is going all over Europe. So I think, so this is again, the establishment are all insane as well. But all that has to do with banks want taxes. See, if there's less people, I mean, I always knew that the whole thing of like Bill Gates and reducing the population was never going to happen, because the banks who really run everything wanted populations to grow so they could tax people and get the revenue from them. Central banks and also regular, big commercial banks as well. So that was again, all these kinds of variables, what's really going on. And it's it's just very interesting too. There's this woman that she's like a Chinese doomer. There's a Chinese doomer, all fucking Wong, whoever her name is. Yeah, that'd be a good name for all fucking Wong, Chinese doomer. And she makes these videos showing. You see, I don't know how true it is. She's like, a real doomer. And but she could be telling the truth. and she has all these videos, and and all the slants in them are all like saying, I go to town on Saturday night and no one's around. Where's everybody? And they show like these young Chinese girls. I used to go dancing with my friends before in 2020, and now my friends aren't around, and there's no one to go. And the city centre's empty at night when there used to be like nightclubs and bars everywhere. And I was thinking to myself, geez, that sounds a lot like Ireland. Until like the 2012 2013s, there was loads of nightlife and all this. Even in the small villages, there was loads of restaurants and pubs and nightclubs. Like there's a small village that I live near had a nightclub. A nightclub now, and there was like 2,000. There's not even 2,000 people living in it. A nightclub, 5 or 6 really good, like decent pubs, and there was like really a couple of really nice restaurants. No, there still is, but they're the only thing that survived. And people used to go on in this time of year in the summer, where it's bright nearly 20 hours a day in Ireland. They would be out in the square drinking pints until dawn. Like that was the norm when I was growing up in Ireland in summer, that you stayed out all night until it got bright again. Because it gets bright again at like 2 in the morning. And yeah, and that's all gone. So it's like there's definitely. I remember years ago. You can probably find this on this channel, and it's probably from 2010 or 2011. I made a video saying, "Have you noticed that people have vanished?" And I noticed it back then, that people I knew, and I've never been able to find them on social media or the internet ever since. And I'm talking about young people, not just people my age, but young people and old people, people of all ages. I just noticed a lot of people just aren't around that I knew just are not here in my life that were around for years, and I can't find any trace of them. And you hear this thing, you see, we have the conspiracy theorist in me will never leave me. In Ireland, we're told that the reason why particularly in provincial Ireland, not so much in urban Ireland, but in provincial Ireland, why there's so few young people around is because they've all emigrated to Australia. And I often wonder how true that is. I wonder if that's a core story, that they all died from the clot shot. Because they would have been the demographic that would have went out because the GIA Gombians told them to, and get all the booster roosters and all that stuff and the Floghorn Leghorns. And it's just a part of me wonders, are lots of them dead? And you hear lots of stories saying of Irish people, young people, mysteriously dying in Australia. I wonder if they're already dead. This is also part of the population. Not that Dreagle document that came out, Dragal, whatever it was called, that came out years ago, that showed like massive population decreases. But what was interesting was huge increases in military spending. Very weird. But they were on target to meet all that stuff. It's not even like a superficial number or target to aim for. We're getting it. We're getting it. So there's that whole thing, and there's the other side of me. There's always be the esoteric side of me. And speaking of which, you remember I was talking about the Voyager spacecraft was something very special about him. That not only as it enters into interstellar space, it would start acting very strange, because it's moving out of the main solar system into interstellar space, and reality will start to break down, not on only in Voyager but also on Earth. Now, guess what happened yesterday? Voyager 1's engines came back to life. They were assumed that they had been dead for 20 years, and the engines came back to life. Voyager 2, I think it was having its data analyzed, its recent transmissions data analyzed by an AI computer, and they detected an intelligent non-human signal on Voyager's transmission load. So those of you who followed me for a long time, I've always been saying, keep an eye. Now I know we have the Star Trek Voyager and all. I know about that, but like, keep an eye on those two spacecraft. Even when I was a little kid, I knew there was something different about them. And maybe space is nothing like what they think it is. You know, they can only look and see so far and then postulate. But maybe out there beyond, you got Pluto. Uh, maybe the outer gods are out there. Maybe, you know, maybe it's out there. Maybe. And then there's the thing, Antarctica. What the hell is in Antarctica? And that's what I think a lot of these Arctic treaties and all this stuff is about. I think there's something going on at the poles. I think all this extra activity at the poles in terms of auroras and everything, there's something, what's under the Greenland ice shelf? What's under the Antarctic ice shelf? Why this massive and sudden dominion of the poles? At the mountains of madness, I don't know. But it's like, this is also the beauty and the strangeness of these times. Once you're not a nutcase, it's like, oh, the world is over, we're all going to die out, and they're losing their mind, this kind of thing. If you can sit there and go, we're living in absolutely amazing times. Absolutely amazing times. You can actually really have, I think that's one of the reasons I've been kind of low-key on this circuit now, is because I'm just amazed at the world. I'm amazed and amazed at the world. So, I might make another video later, see how I feel. So, sanguine gnosis. Take care of yourself, you gorgeous bastards, and be amazed. You've got a front row seat.